This program implements a rectangle class, and again you see that the class is defined before the main function, and again we have some prototypes for the methods in the class over here, and in the next program we're going to pull that all back into the rectangle class again. Notice that all these class functions are declared after the class, but still before over here the main function. So the function over here has to be known in the class before it can be used. So over here we have the set width prototype before we have over here the actual function definition for the set width within the class. So you can say, well, this keeps it a little bit easier to modify by keeping the class functions outside the class declaration. I think that in a program like Visual Studio Code, it's really easy to hide and collapse some information, so it's easier to get an overview of what the program does, and we'll see that in the next program too. So we are talking about a rectangle class over here, and it has some internal properties for length and the width, and we have over here some public functions accessible from outside the class to set the length and the width, but also to get it back. And that's because internally we get, for instance, the length from the outside. Now we have a length internal property over here, and over here we're going to take that length that comes from the outside and put that value in that internal length property, so it's protected. In this particular case, we always want to have a length that's greater than 0. You cannot have a negative length, so what they do over here, if the length is not equal to or greater to 0, then we just use a default length of 1. So, and likewise over here, we get from the outside a parameter w that has a width, and if the width is a positive number or 0, then we take that number that comes from the outside, put it in the internal property width that we have over here in the class, and otherwise we're just going to give it the default value of 0 again. If we want to calculate the area, we don't need to send it any special information, because for the calculation we only need the internal length and the internal width. And since calc area is an internal function, it already has access to those internal properties, so it can just return the length and the width. And actually we could even do something like this, like double area, and area equals length times width, and then return area. And we can do the same. No, over here we just do that for the calculation. Okay, now when we want to work with that class rectangle we have to declare an actual instance, and we'll call it box. So the box is an object of the rectangle class, and we have to have a length for the box and a width for the box. So we ask the user what it's going to be, and then over here we have to store the length of that box internally at set length over here. So over here is where we store it internally. Same thing for the width. From the main function we send it a number, the box width. So we get to set width over here, and over here we store it internally, or maybe assign it the default value of 1. And then over here we print out the properties, and we cannot access them directly because the length is stored internally and is protected, as is the width. So we have to use the getLength method and the getWidth method to get the length and the width that are stored internally. And then we have to call the function calcArea to actually calculate the area. So getters and setters are very common in classes, and they help to keep the properties protected from accidental change outside the class. So when we run this, we'll take the length 10.5, and we'll take the width 20.0, and over here we have the output length, width and area, and it's easy to see that 210 is equal to 20 times 10.5. Let me also show you how you can easily hide things a little bit. So over here I hide this whole comment. Over here I hide everything except for the first line of the set length method. Over here I just hide the whole comment again, all the code and the set width, the whole comment, and you see how this works just great. And let's see what that actually does now. Over here we're in the main function. So see how that simplifies the code here. And you can always expand it again if you want to see what's actually in the set length method. Now the other thing, if you put a line in between over here, that line is also going to show up over here after the function. I would probably just take it out just to keep it a little bit more compact, and that gives you a little bit more real estate to work with.